Welcome back for Game 2 also. Reminder, it is Pride Month and the Rel emote is available immediately for free in the client. Check that out. But we're here for FlyQuest versus C9. Game 2 champion select. What are we expecting from C9 as a rebuttal? Licorice?
I think pretty standard stuff. Maybe some Vi, a little Azir. Maybe some Rumble or Renekton in the top lane. Those are my guesses.
Yeah. The Azir one makes a lot of sense because I feel like these games, they're getting pretty hectic, but they're going to go late. And it feels like FlyQuest will consistently go towards more scaling picks. And I think Quad and Loki are both great Azir players in particular. So that one has to be contested in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, I see from the screens. They're starting
We're
that
in
thing.
draft.
Let's go!
We're in there. All right, Nico ban. I think we might be seeing that for a lot of the series. Busio is one of the best at manipulating the clone to get vision of all players in the league, so not surprised that C9 banned that out early. Is the Nico thing super annoying, Licorice? I feel like it's very annoying.
It's really, I mean, Nico's just such an annoying champ to play against. I mean, like, it just does so much. Like, it has the AoE engage, it wins lane, you can like become a minion and gank people. Like, it's just too much. So I definitely understand the ban there. And then the Vi band out on the other side, I know C9 prioritizes that really highly, just like the consistent engage. So this looks pretty standard so far.
It was like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I was just watching Kana get killed by a Nico walking through the lane. I was like, bro, it's 2025. It was like not being hidden either. It was like significantly faster than the other minions. I was like, how did Mickey get you for that? But yeah, it makes sense. Looking at this though, I'm still leaning on the Azir, but I have to figure out if there's anything else that has higher priority, especially with Thalia being banned on blue side.
Nope.
Oh, there it is.
Azir's
okay, well, rest in peace.
Yeah, Gwen is open this draft, so I think maybe we'll see like a Gwen pick come through. I'm not sure if he wants to first pick it though, but I don't know that there's a lot of other prio picks left besides maybe something like the Nefiri.
No.
Yes.
And
There we go.
There's the Gwen.
Yeah.
Just get your top laner a comfortable pick right off the bat. I think that's one of the, it's like, sometimes you can criticize having a smaller champion pool, but it can also be a strength. Because when you have a top laner who's just so good at a small set of top laners, you can just pick it any time. Because they're so comfortable in any of the matchups, and I feel like that's what C9 is trying to leverage here.
And Gwen is so interesting because at the beginning of the split, it was permanently first pick, right? And every other top laner kind of had a different take on how to deal with it. I mean, you had the Nefiri pick when you were flexing alongside Audi, but also, like, Nidalee probably is going to be that for Bwipo.
Would be top.
Earlier, we saw Kana pick like the Akali, and you did really well into the Gwen pick for that one. So there's a lot of different types of picks that people are quite happy.
Bwipo may have a big champion pool. He's not going to play Akali.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. He's not going to do that, but everyone's going to have their own answer.
Yeah, I mean, Gwen was something, it's gotten nerfed a lot, but I feel like especially the changes to unflinching helped bring it back, where a lot of the matchups that were good, like I played a lot of Jax into it. It's like all of a sudden Gwen is like tankier and outscaling you, and it just made the matchup much worse. So I think has been a really strong pick this whole time. And then now we're seeing the Lucian Milio as the answer to Kalista Renata. It's a pretty even, close-ish lane.
Yeah.
Lucian Milio does.
There is a interesting thing happening right here, because I would say that I love Lucian Milio into hard engaged comps, but FlyQuest doesn't yet have hard engaged comps. So you want to get the Lucian Milio in the first part of the draft phase before the 4-5, but it's not like as valuable of a Milio angle as it would otherwise be.
Oh.
Yep.
There we go.
That's his answer.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own answer, and it's going to be Sett for Bwipo.
Interestingly, a pick that we had talked about previously, but he has not played yet. It's just something that we all know. I'm sure you know, having had to go up against it. The Bwipo Sett pick coming through. What do you think of that matchup, Licorice?
I mean, kind of what I was saying earlier. I feel like unflinching made the matchup a lot easier for Gwen to navigate. I think that like if Thanatos does a really good job of the lane, then he's going to be able to just survive early. And then I think once you get to like, I don't even know if you need an item. Like once you get around to like level 9, then you're going to be able to win those 1v1s as long as you're not too far behind. But I imagine that FlyQuest is going to try to play really aggressive into topside, and like the top dives early are going to be really nasty.
What is so funny about this, by the way, is like earlier on in the split, Zven was on pros, and he was talking about how psychotic Bwipo versus Thanatos was in scrims. And he literally mentioned this exact matchup like the Gwen versus Sett, both of them just like fist fighting in the top lane, and then you just see some crazy like Thanatos going Doran's blade, exhaust like ignite.
Right.
So it's just insane level 1, level 2 fighting. Obviously on stage in a playoffs moment, that is not going to happen. No coach will see that as acceptable.
Do you know?
But we
I
got
know you're
some
hyping
psychos
us
up
up,
here.
Rez. You're hyping us up. Now I want to see it.
I'm just reminding us of what has been said in Scrim.
Yeah.
Now, it's not going to happen, Licorice. Would you be doing that?
If I'd played it in 1v1s and I knew it worked, then yeah, I'm gonna go for it, right? Like if I just right-click him and I win, then like absolutely yes, I'm gonna right-click him and win. You know, there's not a lot more to that.
Just ward the jungle early, make sure you're not getting cheesed. And
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But I do think probably the strength of this FlyQuest draft so far is that their early game dive is so strong both in bot and top lane. So Inspired's gonna have kind of his choice. I assume he's gonna try to pick like a strong jungler on 4, and then he'll have his choice of where he wants to go, and they can start snowballing from there.
Now, I love the Trundle ban. It works really good for C9's composition. And also, we've just been seeing a lot of people been popularizing it, playing it globally. I saw it from Monkey when he was on WE, taking down JDG. Like, I think it looks so good, and taking that away is going to be a lot.
Trundle absolutely decimates Sett as well. Like,
Yeah.
any team fight with a pillar, it's over.
Yeah. So that one's really smart, speaking of Monkey. Maybe you go for something like a Skarner. I think C9 needs some level of front line that can allow them to enter fights easily. Maokai is an easy pick. Maokai is a very good pick here.
Maokai Corki, the classic combo.
I mean, pretty standard C9 composition once again. They have the front line with Maokai, they'll have the Enchanter, a scaling, do your job type mid laner for Loki, and a lot of the eggs will be on Thanatos being able to win that matchup up against Sett. Now, what do we go mid lane here? Because you definitely need AP into Corki. Corki's ears is not possible with the Azir ban.
Yeah, Annie is a pick that has been getting stronger. It will be slightly weaker because of Milio.
Yeah, I don't love it in Milio, but that's what they got.
Yep.
I gotta ask you, Licorice, which comp do you like most between C9 and Flies?
I mean, C9's comp, I would say I like better. I feel like FlyQuest's comp depends a lot on like the early game execution. Like you really need a lead in that top lane, or else you're gonna like get outscaled and fall behind in the game. And then also in the bot lane, like Lucian Milio will eventually start winning and get that mid trial.
Yeah.
So I would definitely give the edge to C9 in this draft, but it really depends. Like FlyQuest just has to like make some good things happen early, and then go from there.
Emily?
I agree. I think the big thing for me for FlyQuest is that they really do want to be making early plays, keep things kind of volatile enough, but by contrast, C9 actually has a really nice composition to be able to sit back and wait to scale and be able to take over in 5v5 team fighting.
That sounds great to us. I want to hear from the casters now. Take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Lounge, and welcome back, everybody. Let's see what this Game 2 is going to shape up as non-subscribers. We'll see you in 30 seconds. For everybody else, FlyQuest is packing some real AoE punch in this second game team comp.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty spicy draft. Kobe and I were both just having our complaint session about Sett. This champion does ridiculous amounts of damage. Also with the new buff Overlord's Bloodmail from a couple patches ago, it is a very strong item as well. I have seen Sett hit some ridiculous true damage W's late game. The highest I've seen was over 5,000. So it is pretty insane, the numbers you can pump out. The early game definitely going to be heavily favored towards him. He didn't go anything super crazy, like he's not playing Ignite or anything, but if you watch his stream, this is one of the picks he really likes, and you can brawl very heavily with it early on. It is really tough to win trades against Sett.
Yeah, the lane phase is just insane, because he has the passive regen afterwards. He can always go for these W trades, use the shield. He can chase you down, and any sort of fist fight, it is just not advised early on. And
he's got big fists.
he has big fists. Thanatos was talking about that in the pregame interview, actually.
Yeah,
just quite a lot. But Gwen is one of his favorite champions for Thanatos, so we'll see how he does play this one. He will, of course, be cautious when appropriate.
Okay, with no action happening at level 1, let's go ahead and toss things down to Jat, who's standing by for an interview with FlyQuest coach Nuke Duck.
I gotta ask, how did Game 1 align with your expectations for the series? The Cho'Gath Cassio seemed quite interesting to me.
Yeah, I think first game they try to play in a way where they like take away our champs a little bit. I think they're just trying to like it was a sacrificed game, almost looked like, from my point of view. So yeah, I think they had an interesting, like, you know, draft, like, fearless strategy. So that's what we're looking out for now.
And it looked pretty interesting as well. We've heard tales from Gwen versus Sett in scrims between Thanatos and Bwipo. But what needs to happen in this early game for you to feel good about game 2?
We don't have to do too much in the early game. We just need to, like, fight for objectives. So I guess making sure we don't give any random kills. We should be just stronger early game. So we're just playing early game comp, basically. So we can't afford mistakes in lane, and we need to, you know, stack objectives. All
right, what's the confidence level like to win the series at this point?
I'm pretty confident. I think this game I think we can do a good job this game, and then yeah, I'm pretty confident.
All right, appreciate it, Nutuck. Have a good series.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's see how this one does go with that top lane head-to-head. With the state of all of these lanes right now being pretty standard stuff as we get our tri-lane camera even over in mid lane, as Bwipo does have control, does have push up there in the top side, and Massu and Busio doing the same thing down here in bot lane.
Yeah, looks like as well, junglers on regular full clears, both from top side to bottom side. Of course, they're level 6s for both of them, extremely potent. And Blaber here on the Maokai with the phase rush plus the blue smite start for all of the extra speed. I expect him to go full tank in this to be the big front line, you know, for Cloud9. As they do approach the team fights. And Nutuck was kind of talking about it for FlyQuest perspective of trying to utilize some of these early advantages to snowball.
Yeah, and they have double AD carry, right, with the Corki in mid lane, but you've still got a massive AP threat in the Gwen, so it's not like Maokai feels the extra pressure to have to build Leandries or something.
And they have no tank, right? They have no frontline besides him, so it's like he's got to, I think, really build some frontline. You can see Sett just on top side, just running past the tower. He's going to proxy a wave. He's going to be able to get that faster recall out. Well, the Gwen will have to stay around and collect the wave as it crashes. So Bwipo going to be able to get a nice early reset here, not have to actually spend the teleport. Always going to be feeling like a good position for him. Whereas if Thanatos does not TP back, he's going to lose some minions here. And so Bwipo using that early prio that we heard the coach Nutuck talking about, you know, just saying that they really want to be able to use that early game power, play for these objectives. And you can see Thanatos is giving that respect over going early Bramble here, which honestly, I don't love. I don't think that the self-healing is really that important at all for Bwipo. And if you just want to get armor, you could just go towards like early tabbies, or you could even just sit on some cloth armor, something like that. It's probably just he had 800 gold and he's like, okay, this is a good buy, but I just feel like Bramble is not really very effective whatsoever unless you're getting a ton out of the anti-healing, and Sett does not give you much there. So it's just not really a super efficient buy, and it is going to put him way down because Bwipo is going to have a much earlier one-item power spike now.
Thanatos did a good job there using the Hallowed Mist to make it so he didn't take any damage from the Haymaker. Step just far enough away that even if you're not all the way out of the range of the thing, you can still manage to keep him on the outer edge of that ring so that you don't take the damage. As now the wave's just going to continue once again to be crashed into the tier 1 turret of the C9 top laner as Bwipo maintains control over this wave. And there's that damage potential that you're talking about. This guy hurts, man.
Yeah, Bwipo as well with keeping up all the pressure has almost earned his own first turret plate by himself. And he didn't have to take Demolish to do this. Of course, he is the shield, bash, and bone plating combo for these big trades that he goes for.
And this matchup between these two teams has been pretty close. You know, we talked about it, 3-3 this year. Over the last couple of years has been pretty close as well. Historically, though, you know, it is pretty favored towards Cloud9. You can see, you know, as FlyQuest came in 2020, definitely in the early years, Cloud9 was, you know, the stronger team, absolutely. And it has just gotten closer more recently. I would say a large part of that is because of how strong this new Fly roster is and how good Inspired has been for this team. You know, since he joined, he really made such a big difference. We talk about multi-time MVPs. Inspired won Kia MVP for Split 2 here. That puts him in some pretty prestigious company. You know, only 3 players have actually won 2, and then Bjergsen has 4. And he is going up against one of those players that does have 2, Blaber over on the other side. So he's in some rare air now with that second MVP that he won here. Plus he won 1 in Europe, so if you want to count that as well, that will put him, you know, second just behind Bjergsen.
And I mean, both of those jungle, the only role that has 2 of those multi-time MVPs in it, and they're head-to-head in this game as Blaber and C9 are going to go ahead and start up this first Drake.
Look at this flank around by Quad. They don't want to let them have the dragon. Quad is level 6 on the Annie.
Oh boy, Blaber's walking right into the rush there, immediately gets stunned up. Busio hits him with a follow-up handshake. Blaber trying to create some space, but it won't matter. Fire beats the tree, and FlyQuest is on the board first.
That's two-time MVP down.
They got him. He's out of the picture.
Inspired, though.
You get bonus gold for that kill?
Yeah, you should.
Trophy pops out or
Based
something?
on awards. Inspired, the other two-time MVP that we have here, is going to actually claim the dragon. And that is just another good play by Quad. And we were talking about Quad a lot in the previous game for his Cassiopeia, but there on the Annie makes the roam count. And that's what you really want to see from the best Annies when they get out of lane, when they roam around to make these plays early on.
Man, and if you didn't like the Bramble buy like me, you're not going to like the second buy here from Thanatos, which was
Glowing
a glowing moat and a refillable potion. Not the best buy, but yeah, the early game against Sett, is very hard. He's done a great job to keep pretty even here in farm. He's only down that one plate and a couple CS. So Thanatos, if you are not dying and you are getting XP and you're getting minions, you are feeling really good about how you're performing in this matchup because you are going to outscale the Sett. It is going to be harder for the Sett on average in team fights to actually, really make a big difference. And there is going to hit a point where you get to that late game where you can win in the 1v1, you can win in the side lane. So Thanatos just needs to survive.
Yeah, but right now, Bwipo has already gone in with the showstopper, trying to beat Thanatos down here. Big haymaker comes out, but Blaber has already made his way into the fight, and that means Thanatos is coming out on top.
And Jack kind of mentioned it, but we had heard the stories of these two teams scrimming against each other, and of those two top laners, going at it in a lot of to-the-death fights. This one was just a very good move from jungler. Top laners are always complaining about junglers, but they completely chain matchups like that. And as you say, the Gwen getting the kill really feeds into that scaling advantage that he wants to get later.
And if you hadn't heard some of these stories, some of the stories that I'd heard about this matchup were pretty funny. Is that Bwipo would come in, bring in the Sett into the Gwen, and then he's playing Ignite. So then the next game, Thanatos is playing Exhaust. Then they're playing double combat summoners, and it apparently evolved to the point where Thanatos was playing lethal tempo, Doran's Blade start with Ignite Exhaust top lane against Bwipo's Sett, and they just were fighting to the death level 1 before minions spawned in the brush.
I mean, hey man, it's an arms race up there in top lane. You've just got to keep escalating the deal.
It paid off.
Yeah, I mean, you talk to any top laner, if he hits me, I got to hit him back. That's just the way it goes.
It's the rules. If he's on my screen, his health bar is a different color. Like, only one of us should be in this lane right now.
I just am going to let him disrespect me like that? He just autoed me. I need to kill myself and fight back.
We've got to go in.
Well, after the last kill, he decided, I'm not going to be on his screen. So now it is the swap. And of course, Massu and Busio are going to try and work away as many turret plates as they can as quickly as possible in their 2v1. Already made quick work of the first one and then bounced the wave.
I think C9 is doing great, though. They're up a slight amount of gold here. They are the ones playing this more heavy scaling type of composition. You're playing double AD carry with Milio. At some point, I assume he's going to get an Ardent Sensor in there. You have the Cozy Campfire. You're giving extra range. You're giving the healing. You're giving the Ardent. You're giving all these buffs to these double AD carries. And then you have a great split pusher who's scaling. You have Blaber, who we now know is going towards tank. And over on the other side, they did get the early objective, as Nuke Duck talked about. And we'll see if they can continue to stack that, because I feel like since they haven't been able to pick up a lot of kills or anything, there is really a lot of pressure on them to get every single dragon and to be able to put on some pressure in that way, right? To threaten Seoul, to kind of wipe out the scaling advantages that Cloud9 has.
Bwipo is just going to continue mining more money from these turret plates because they got the 3 grubs. That true damage over time will keep ticking. Let's see these last couple of minion autos. Nicely calculated there to guarantee the second plate goes over his way, but not overstaying and committing more time than was necessary. Blaber sitting around here over the wall in mid lane, as FlyQuest does have a control ward in the line brush off to the side, so they'll have vision control over this area. As Blaber's still just kind of keeping an eye on what's going on with these brushes. We've still got over a minute until the next Drake spawns, so nothing to immediately fight over in this bot side river just yet.
Yeah, and even though there isn't a dragon up, since both junglers have flashes and their ultimates ready, and their first item in the case of Blaber here with his Unending Despair, he's sniffing around for a possible play here. Maokai ultimate, he actually walks over a lot of vision, so not going to get too much down here with the Scuttle Crab plus all of the wards for FlyQuest. And here comes Inspired on his Wukong, who is a champion notorious for having to power level until he gets to this point to try and look for something more aggressive.
And you can see Bwipo has his Stride Breaker done. Obviously going to complete that item faster than Gwen because she made that pit stop for the Bramble. And I want to see what he can get done with this. If he can put some pressure on. as Thanatos potentially in trouble, but does have that shroud.
Okay, Thanatos with the flash out. Nice handshake, though, from Busio. Pulls him right back in for a little bit more damage. Thanatos still going to lose half HP, decides to take the reset.
And these are always, calculated plays when they're full sending on that side of the map before Dragon. It's 20 seconds ahead. And so they got the flash out of Thanatos. They got the ultimate out of Thanatos. They're going to get, the teleport as well out of Thanatos. And so those types of plays, even though you're not going to be able to kill him, now there's so much less threat from the Gwen if they decide to fight the Dragon fight. Plus, they're actually just going to keep up the pressure, push it into the turret, and they're going to have bot prio first. Meanwhile, look at the Annie 2 quad up there, trying to deal with the remnants of those minions, and he's got his stun charged. He's got his flash ready as well.
Okay, FlyQuest have started up the Drake with a 3-man squad of Busio, Massu, and Inspired, putting the DPS into it. You can see that C9 was around the area, thinking about a potential fight, but now thinking better of it. As with FlyQuest being first to the Drake, there's so many of those Kalista spears in the objective. It's so very easy to secure it. C9 are not going to take the fight for that.
And I think barring any sort of major mistake from Fly, as soon as they got that pressure onto Thanatos and they got his flash ult, you're just not going to fight, right? C9 want to scale, want to play this slowly. I do think this is the kind of pace of game that they want to play. The question is going to become, when do they fight? Are they going to feel prepared at this third dragon here, or are they going to have to risk it and wait till fourth? It is going to be Hextech. As far as pro play goes, that is the one that people prize generally the highest, and especially when you do have teams that are pretty easy to apply that.
Okay, Bwipo dealing with Loki up here. That stride breaker that you mentioned, Isaac, I think is especially important when you're up against a comp like this with plenty of range with the double AD carries, making it so you can have that greater efficacy in the big fights. Like you already said, it's by default easier for Gwen to accomplish her mission in a larger fight than it is for Sett. So Bwipo giving himself some extra tools to accomplish that is always going to feel good. Blaber with the Unending Despair completed on the Maokai. Tank items cheaper than damage or carry items by default, so considering Inspired is going for more damage-oriented stuff here on the Wukong, it's not going to work out the same, but now Thanatos once again going to be in some danger. Showstopper right back away from the turret. Thanatos giving himself a lot for now, but a flash over the wall from Inspired for one last smack upside the head. FlyQuest grabbing their second kill.
Good kill, but it does cost them teleport, double flash, and double ultimate. So that was a lot invested there. So now Blaber immediately going to go in on the other side. They're going to push pretty aggressively here in mid lane, and Quad getting really low from that culling means this tower mid is probably going to go down. They're going to be able to likely at least steal away this red buff, so they will try to get something down. And Loki's trying to defend that bot lane tier 1.
Okay, so this tier 1 turret in mid lane, about to fall, but not quite there just yet. Remember that the first turret is still up as one of the claimable feats. FlyQuest got themselves the first 3 neutral objectives by controlling everything in the early part of the game. Still only 2-1 in terms of kills, so that feat of warfare still up for grabs as well. And sometimes the turret hanging on by just a sliver of HP is enough. FlyQuest are going to hold on to it in mid.
Yeah, we'll see if there is any sort of counterplay as far as these flashes that are down, though. Want to see if there's going to be Cloud9 just continue to try and farm up and try and keep this early game steady, or if we're going to actually go for that big play on the side, because FlyQuest, they are here. Rift Herald is spawned. Okay. They are going to immediately go for it. Again, this is the team with all the early game focus, so they are going to keep on going towards these objectives first. They've got the Kalista.
And now Blaber, though, walks right into the brush, immediately gets handshook as he tries to make his entry, but now Inspired in some danger, has to use the clone to get back over the wall, but C9 is in hot pursuit. The rocket doesn't hit Inspired, and Loki is still chasing. Busio trying to dodge away from the rockets and projectiles flying forward as Quad. It looked like if he wanted to, he could have full sent it there, but the rest of the team couldn't have backed him up. It wouldn't have worked out the way they wanted. C9, they might not have got a kill, but they earned themselves control over the topside river and the Rift Herald pit.
Exactly. I mean, Blaber walks in, but he's pretty tanky. He already has the tier 2 boots, already has his first item completed. They will grab feats of strength off of this, though, as Bwipo is going to take that first tower down on bot side, so FlyQuest will get something there, but they are able to win out on the fight on the other side, as Blaber, too tanky to take down, has that support of the team behind him. Loki insta-TP'd in and is able to turn that fight.
And it just shows how important holding this mid lane turret was earlier, because it does give you that extra edge of that first turret bottom, allowing you to secure the feats for yourself, gives you the extra boots. Feels less bad that you lost the Herald as the objective there from the FlyQuest side, who are still up over 1.5 1,000 gold. You can see we are at the point of the game now where the Trinity Force builders have built their Trinity Forces. We've got the Wukong and Corki both locked and loaded with those. Quad versus Thanatos up here on the top side. Thanatos just trying to hop, skip, and jump away from this one, but Quad immediately chunks him for a massive amount of HP, forces the Gwen back, takes the tier 1 turret. In the meantime, now Bwipo's moving through the enemy jungle, seeing if maybe he can catch Thanatos here on a lazy recall. Thanatos going to get all the way back behind that tier 2 turret, though. But yeah, here comes Bwipo. Quad's still here. Tibbers is still angry, knocking the minions over. Loki's working on the tier 1 turret in the bottom lane at the same time. But a tier 1 from a tier 2, I might not be a mathematician, gentlemen, but I think the tier 2's worth more.
Yeah, I always love ultis like that. You know, he's playing for pressure. He has the early malignance, so Quad here just unloads the ante, and they get very, very quick 2 turrets. It is over 2,000 individual gold there for Bwipo's Sett.
Yeah, and he's got he's gonna head back to base, and he's gonna be close to a second item. Already had the tunneler. Now is able to grab another ruby, another longsword there. So we'll see where he wants to go second. Wouldn't be surprised to see Sterek second. It does feel pretty standard for Bwipo. He plays so well around that spike. When he's playing Renekton, whatever he is playing, he really utilizes that shield to the maximum here.
And with Dragon coming up, they have an easy place on the map to go. So teleport for Cloud9. They want to fight it.
C9 are already going to be over there, though. They're there first, and it looks like FlyQuest going to be maybe too late.
FlyQuest still thinking about the approach here as Inspired jumps in after Loki, but does not want to commit the ulti here just yet. Quad goes in for the play on Zven, but he's not going to find the engage he looks for. Quad instead shut down by Thanatos, who's made his way into the back lines of FlyQuest. Now Zven is in danger, but he won't die to the Haymaker here just yet. And Loki is still DPSing and messing up everybody on the FlyQuest side. Inspired falling all the way back now, needs to continue the retreat because FlyQuest has already lost 3 men. Thanatos flashes forward to force the flash out defensively from Inspired, and C9 wipes the gold lead off the map.
Yeah, the only thing that saves that from being an entirely disastrous is Bwipo actually ulting Blaber away from the dragon so that Inspired could secure it. So they do move towards Soul Point, but look at Thanatos here early on. As Quad goes in, Quad does not hit anything. He just a straight up whiff with the flash W, and then Thanatos on the side is able to get in behind him and shut him down immediately. Quad got nothing in that fight.
Vulcan value there really big too with the Milio. I mean, this is so big for Cloud9. It is going to be, that dragon for FlyQuest. So they did get their 3rd dragon, but the cost was substantial here. Let's see if they can continue on that focus and actually march towards the early Soul.
And now it's just like they just need Soul, right? Like I said, they're getting slammed in that fight, and the only thing that saves it is Bwipo ulting Blaber away to guarantee the smite, because Blaber didn't have flash. He couldn't actually get back to the dragon in time to really get in and secure it. But now we're clearly starting to get this point where C9 is likely to win the 5v5s. You can talk about execution, of course, as well. Fly did not play that fight that well, but if C9 do keep winning these fights from here on out, you might not get access to actually a 50-50 or a potential smite steal.
Okay, C9, very, very small gold lead, but a lead is a lead nonetheless. Loki going to work to expand that one a little bit further, putting in the auto attacks on the tier 1 turret. And nobody from FlyQuest is really concerned about keeping this thing alive at this point in the game. They'll let that one fall. Loki will pick up the payday on that. Nearly has the tier stacked up to 360 now too. So as soon as he finishes buying all of the components there for the Manamune, we'll evolve it into that Muramana, and that's another big power spike.
And it was really important that Thanatos actually got quite a bit of gold here, because he was down 2k in that individual matchup, picked up a couple kills, has closed that gap, but Otacon has been started here. FlyQuest just want to keep the pressure on. They know it's not going to get better for them.
Yeah, FlyQuest rushed the Otacon at 20 minutes in game number 1. Now they're doing the same thing here again in game number 2. Bwipo's going to be your target here at the very start of the fight, but Sett is very tanky, wants to find a little bit more damage right on back, and Vulcan is nearly killed instantly by the Haymaker. Now Blaber's here on the front line as Inspired goes into the back line of C9, but it ain't going to be enough as Zven has already got the kill, but a nice hostile takeover. Zven executes his own teammates as Massu keeps jumping forward and takes Zven down. Loki wants to get one, and he will, but it comes at the cost of an ace. FlyQuest slam that fight.
They have to keep it turned up to 11, and they do. They force the fight. Bwipo goes right in there, forces it for them, and then they can chase through. FlyQuest, no, they have to keep fighting. Here's another look at the entry.
And Bwipo looks like he kind of gets caught, but he just ends up drawing so much pressure. He ults to buy space to go away from those carries, and then look at this Haymaker. That is what I'm talking about. Almost insta-kills Vulcan through his heal, through his ultimate, through his shield. it just didn't even matter. Then it's able to flash out to safety, and yes, Inspired goes down, but look at the space that is created, and the hostile takeover gets 3.
It catches them. Zven got chased down by Massu, and Loki had to flash just to go for that kill, which ends up costing him his life too anyway. So now there's going to be no flash on the Corki. I mean, basically everybody flashed in that fight, or even prior to that fight. So there's not going to be a lot left. And we'll see FlyQuest here continue to push the aggression.
Look at the damage from Bwipo, by the way, and all of that white, that is the true damage from the Haymaker. So just play safe.
Very, very powerful tank here with the Sett.
Is worth noting that they got the secondary tower after that play. They did not go back for the Otacon. The tower, easier gold, and again, these secondary ones on the side lanes, huge chunks of gold for the team, and so FlyQuest really investing in that one to get themselves back into this very good position.
So Bwipo not going Sterix here. He actually did go for the Overlord's Bloodmail, which was, buffed a couple of patches ago. You get, a percentage of AD based on your missing health. So that is why it's so powerful with Sett, because you get super low, you pop the Haymaker at like 5% health for this massive fully bar, and you're getting tons of AD. Additionally, even at full health, he's getting a bonus of 37 AD plus the 30 AD on it, just from the HP that he has.
Yeah.
So this thing can give you like 100 plus AD when you are really low and you press W, and that is where it can turn into straight up one-shots on carries. It can be really, really crazy.
And he has teleport, so you have to watch out for your teleport flank wards that are on the map right now when FlyQuest go over to this Otacon. Thankfully for Cloud9, most of the teleport wards are pretty shallow, so it won't be too big of a surprise.
It's Seoul up and available for the side of FlyQuest. The Otacon is right next door, and Inspired goes in after Zven. The Cloud9 AD carry manages to disengage here as Inspired drops his clone. You're going to see Massu go for an early Fates call there on the Busio, looking to keep him alive as well, but Bwipo has made his way into the fight, and now Loki's going to be killed as things just barely start. Thanatos tries to run as Inspired makes his way into the mix, and Bwipo is still alive here too. Zven tries to approach the Tribe Rush. Blaber wants to try to steal away this Otacon. FlyQuest, they may have picked off one of the Cloud9 players, but they don't have a lot of health to work with. Bwipo is going back to the base. He'll be able to TP to try to rejoin the fight, but now Otacon is losing his patience, and his health has already regenerated back to 100%. Busio, still very low on HP. Bwipo's going to teleport and rejoin the fight now. C9 trying to slow this down, trying to stop this, but try as they might, there's simply not an angle to do it. There are too many spears in the Otacon, and that objective is secured by FlyQuest.
Yeah, calm call there from FlyQuest to buy time for Bwipo to go back and teleport in. Instead of risking the Rend plus Smite combo, they reset, they wait for it now for the Soul.
They're trying to buy time for Loki. Loki almost has teleport, but he's gating out. It's all about this Soul now.
Okay, FlyQuest going after the Soul. Loki on the long approach, making his way back up here. Inspired still doesn't have his Smite back up, ready to go here just yet. Blaber ready to Smite on the Maokai. Inspired makes his way back over towards the objective, as now Blaber's going to be in some danger. Uses Twisted Advance, trying to get away from the damage on the Haymaker as Inspired has found the enemy mid laner. Bwipo's at a killing spree, and Thanatos is already dead. The Hex does go over to C9, so they'll stop the Soul for now, but Blaber's got to be careful. He nearly dies, but he baits them in instead. C9 end up getting an absolutely massive fight with 4 kills, and they're marching their way up to Baron and spawning in 5 seconds.
Yeah, Blaber gets the Dragon, and what a fight from Loki. He flanks on the Corki. He's eviscerating FlyQuest from behind. They couldn't actually get and turn around onto him to be able to engage onto Loki. Loki is just destroying them in the backline. Even Valk's into the pit onto Massu's head. They get the Dragon. They should be able to get the Baron. Bwipo trying to make it happen.
Yeah, Bwipo's going in, wants to try to get that last shot there onto Loki, but the Haymaker doesn't hit. It's an ace for C9. Baron, the prize.
FlyQuest are going to regret that one so hard. In the face of a Dragon Soul and a Baron, Otacon is nothing. And Otacon takes a long time. They could have chose to just go for the Dragon first instead, but they go for Otacon first, and then by that time, Loki is back out.
And just watch Loki in the back of this fight. He is just constantly hitting Inspired and Bwipo. He got a big one onto Busio and Quad as well, got them chunked down, and no one can actually turn onto him. They can't actually get anything down onto him. Again, another rocket onto Busio, finishes off Inspired, Valk's over the wall, and even before this replay started, he was harassing them and hitting them with rockets from the Tribe Rush. Loki played this fight incredibly well, very risky positioning coming in from behind without a front line by him, but he made it happen, and that is the kind of play you want to see from the C9 mid laner.
C9 now up over 2 1,000 gold. The game has been turned on its head here. Blaber also saving his team from having to suffer that Hex Soul. Inspired was off to the side fighting Loki like you were talking about. He wasn't even close enough to try to smite fight for the Drake. Yeah. So C9 really just setting up the battlefield exactly how they needed to guarantee a big win there, as now they're going to force their way into the FlyQuest base. That bottom lane inhibitor is already destroyed. Bwipo is set up defensively here with the Nexus turrets. Finally, Quad and Busio making it back to the base to try to continue defending. Bwipo flashing forward, wants the engage. Blaber jumping in with a twisted advance. Bwipo losing a ton of health. Quad wanted to grab the burst, but there's not enough damage. Bwipo with a huge haymaker to kill 2. FlyQuest hold the line as the true damage is just way too much. One last hit from Massu takes down Zven. As Inspired as the sacrificial Wukong. It does not matter. It's a 5 for 2. It's a full ace. It's Baron wiped off the map as FlyQuest hold the line.
What a game from Cloud9 and FlyQuest. Here is the siege with the Baron buff, and it gets so dicey for FlyQuest, but Bwipo goes for the huge dunk.
Yeah, we got to see how much damage this Haymaker did, because the bar gets filled up, but then he catches up with that Berserk from the hostile takeover. Watch this Haymaker right here. Wasn't even a full bar. Oh my God! Plus 1,200 gold. And that was maybe 2/3 of his bar. Wasn't even fully filled up because it had decayed from the earlier damage he takes. Now he has a Warmog, so even more bonus health there. That is a punch that they will not be forgetting anytime soon.
And afterwards, they also ended up finally getting the mid tower. So FlyQuest got even more gold off that, getting another objective after pushing back out of damage.
That's like a 3K one. His bar wasn't even full and he wasn't even that low. That could have been one of those like 5K haymakers.
That's rookie numbers right there. Yeah. He could definitely pump those up.
That is crazy, man. That is just not right. Bwipo takes away the enemy red buff now. And fellas, we are once again back to this situation where now if you're C9, there's less than 90 seconds on the clock and you've got to defend against a potential Hex Soul again.
He's teleporting up here. They want to flank.
Okay, C9's on the run. Nice engage coming out from Massu and Busio. Zven tries to get away over the wall, but he's already been killed as Bwipo makes his way onto Loki's Corki. A double kill for Massu. Thanatos should be next to fall. Quad trying to stay alive here with a bailout, but they don't do it in time. That'll be a 1-for-1, but a 4-for-1 overall as C9 gets completely mopped up at only the cost of Quad.
Well, the question is, can they actually just like end the game? There's 40 seconds on some of these respawns. How aggressive do they want to go? Will they just go for the inhibitor and back to the Soul, or are they really going to try to push for a ton?
Well, Bwipo is tanking the turret to guarantee that the wave stays in as good a shape as it possibly can. It's only Vulcan around to try to clear things out. Milio has very few offensive tools to do anything at all. Zven is going to be alive in 5 seconds. FlyQuest still going to continue their push for now. You can see the Void Grublings showing their way up here, moving towards the Nexus turrets. FlyQuest are going all the way for the throat on this one. Zven's going to try to defend, but he doesn't have the firepower. 18-14, FlyQuest end it. They're going to match point.
Yeah, and they get another kill for the road. The Haymaker nearly one-shots Vulcan just to put their stamp on it. This one, Cloud9 looked like they were in a good spot. They had the scaling comp. They got to a good position. They got the Baron. They denied the Soul. But then FlyQuest just find the angles to force fights, to not allow them to get set up, and just wipe them off the map back to back, know their limits, end the game.